Mombasa, give us the Rotary Grace.
The Rotary. Let me pick the Rotaract Grace. I can't remember the Rotary Grace of it. The Rotaract Grace. For the things we think, say or do, may we be forever grateful and ever mindful over the needs of others.
4A test. Okay, just give us the 4A test also.
Okay, the 4A test of the things we think, say or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Mombasa, kindly introduce the speaker.
The speaker this evening is someone I've known for quite some time, a few years, I think. Should be a few years. And I will just read a bit of his bio. So our speaker today is Rotarian Santos Chenko from the Rotary Club of Ngata Rongai. He's married to one wife and has 3 children. He's a training and development partner at Synergistic Value Limited and a certified IATA aviation safety and procedures instructor and a flight pursuer in charge of in-flight teams. In his free time, he likes going on holidays with family, watching movies and series, and he's a die-hard Manchester United fan. I think we share that together. He also does a lot of mentorship and charity work. Other than being in Rotary, he belongs to a group called Aviators of Hope, whose primary goal is to take hope to individuals or groups that need it, such as children's homes, old homes, differentially able individuals, and such. So he will be speaking to us on navigating careers and workplace for the millennials. And without much further ado, welcome. I present to you Rotarian Santos Chenko.
Good evening. I don't know the formalities here. We all stay behind our photos or what? Because I can't see anyone who's sharing their screens or videos. Just to make sure that it's me. Thank you very much for the good introduction, Davis. Let me ask, if I was to grant you one wish right now,
yes,
what would you wish for? And wishing me away is not included. So you can either type or you can raise your hand and you can tell us what your wish is. Feel free to write in the chat box or marry a beautiful girl. Okay. Or you can unmute yourself and speak. Feel free. That's 1. We are 17, so I need 16 answers. Already 1, so 15 to go. Very quickly, what would you wish for? Yes, Christine?
My wish would be to get a master's scholarship in one of the best universities in the UK.
Excellent. A scholarship in the UK. Good. Eileen, since you're unmuted.
I'd wish that I did not care much what people said and did what I wanted to do.
Okay, fantastic. People do not care about what you say or do. Anyone else? Leave the world a better place. Guiron, please unmute. I need to ask you a question.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to leave the world?
Eventually.
Okay, I know that's not what you mean, but okay, make the world a better place. I believe that's what you meant.
Yes. Yes, that's a better way of phrasing it.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Karen. Valentine. Someone disappeared. Valentine, what would you wish for? To
I would
live a
wish
happier life.
yes.
Okay, gotcha. Cynthia? Muriuki, you're next.
I think I would wish for financial abundance.
Financial abundance. Have you had more money, more problems? Cynthia,
Yes.
have you heard about more money, more problems? That phrase.
Yeah, I have.
But you don't mind the problems as long as you have the money.
Yes. Just give me the
Okay.
money, I'll deal with the problems.
You'll deal with the problems.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, last one, Muriuki. All right, Muriuki is not, he's gone AWOL. So I'll go straight into our discussion today. And there's a reason why I asked that question, because it is tied to what I'm going to share with you this evening. However, Kate, I'd wish to have the ability to help out there, to help people out of their situations. Wow, that's nice, Kate. Good. So there'll be a reason I'll connect to what I've asked you to, what we're going to discuss maybe towards the tail end. But as we discuss about millennials navigating and careers in the workplace, I have had the honor of training quite a number of millennials, quite a big number. So I have a wealth of knowledge and experience on this topic. However, before we move on, I'd like to just maybe share with you. Initially, I wanted to share you with some PowerPoints, but I thought that wouldn't be fun. So I just want us to engage. And please feel free to unmute, should I ask a question, and share your views, whether you agree with me and when you don't, right? So first and foremost, how many generations are there at the workplace? Or before even I start, how many of you are working?
I am.
That's Eileen, yes, one.
I am Christine.
Anyone else working or is working?
I am.
Okay, Christine, that's two.
Does working have to be employed?
If you have your own business, fine. As long as you can either be working or have your own side business. Anything that is giving you some form of income.
I am.
All right, that's three.
Okay, I used to.
Okay, used to. Caleb is also working, good. Okay, very good. Now, so that takes me to my question. What is, how many generations are there? Or rather, how many generations would you find in the workplace? Basically, there are 5, and that would be the generation Z. I don't know if you have anyone who is 23 and below in the group. I don't think so. Then we have the millennials, who I believe a majority of you. So you were born between 1981 and 1996. So you should be between the ages of 24 and 39. Then we have the generation X, where I fall. So date of birth will be between 1965 and 1980. So the age will put us between 40 and 55. Then we have the baby boomers. And this, I believe, would be most of your parents. They were born between 1946 and 1964. So they should be aged about 56 or 74. So I think maybe some of you may have their parents falling in the Generation X category. Then last but not least, I believe these ones are probably your grandparents, the silent generation, who fall between who were born between 1928 and 1945. So they should be between 75 and 92 years. It's very important to know the generations in the workplace. Now, going by what I've just shared, if you're in the workplace, who do you think would be your boss out of all those generations? Someone can unmute and shout out or just type. Who do you think would be?
X.
Sorry, Christine?
X.
X, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So currently most of them, yes, would be X. And then probably you'll have a few. Would you have a few baby boomers? Probably. But majority would be the Generation X. So I'll just give you an example of some leaders who lead in the workplace. And I'll be leading you to somewhere. Like, I'll give an example right now. CEO of KQ is Alan Kilavuka. He's 50 years. And he got this position while he was 50. He became CEO this year. We have Peter Ndegwa in Safaricom. He was appointed CEO and he started this year and he's 51. Then we have James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity Bank. He's currently 58, but he became the CEO 6 years ago, so that that means he was 52 years. We have James Moria, Centum CEO. He's 42 years, but Moria became CEO of Centum when he was 30, right? Then we have Joshua Oigra, CEO of KCB, 45 years. Became CEO of KCB when he was 37. Then we have Tabitha Karanja. She's the CEO of Kiroshe. She's currently 55 years old, but she became CEO of Kiroshe when she was 33. Rebecca Miano, she's the CEO of Kengen. She's 54 right now. Became CEO while she was 41. Then we have Marion Gadoga Mwangi, CEO of BOC Gases. She's 47, became CEO while she was 45. We have Joyce Ann Wanaina, CEO of Citibank. She's 52, but became CEO of Citibank while she was 43. Then we have Njeri Roinge. And please remember this name, Njeri Roinge. She's the CEO of Wananchi Online and Ignite Consulting. She's currently 43 years and became CEO of Wananchi at 23. All right. Then we have Carol Kariuki, CEO Kenya Private Sector Alliance. She's 45. Became the CEO of KEPSA when she was 35. Then lastly, we have Julie Gishuru. You all know her. She's a media personality. She's the CEO of Arimas Media. She's currently 46 years and became CEO of Arimas at 35. Now, just like Christine said, should you get into the job market or those who are in the job market, chances are most of the managers are going to be Generation X, okay? So that being the fact that there'll be the Generation X, so I believe what is important is to know what this generation think of you. I think that is most important. But before we go to that, what are the characteristics of millennials? That is you guys who are also known as Generation Y. And the reason why you're called Generation Y is because you kept asking the question, why? You do not follow blindly. So some of your characteristics that you're techno-savvy. Most of you know how to operate an iPad, an iPod, a laptop, a phone, a smartphone. You're just very comfortable with these devices. And obviously, because of all these devices, you're connected 24/7, 365. So most of the time you're online. And much as this is a pro, it also has its downside, and I'll share that much later. You're very self-confident. It has been shown you're very optimistic. You're very independent, self-independent. And that means you're very comfortable with yourselves, you're determined, you're goal-oriented, you're success-driven, you're lifestyle-centered, meaning that your lifestyle is very, very key and very important. You like diversity, you're very inclusive, you can include people from every walks of life. Because of your techno-savvy and being connected, you're very global, civic, and community-minded. And then you like pulling together in big groups. You're service-oriented, but most importantly, you're entrepreneurial. All right? But then, you also have some beliefs that are good and some may be a challenge when you're going to the job market. One is you've never experienced life without computers or technology. So if you go into an area where there's no use of computers or technology, you really have a struggle. Again, you also have the belief of reverse accumulation of knowledge. And this just simply means that the younger you are, the more you think you know. All right? Which at times may be true, but in most cases, you may have knowledge, but you may lack experience or wisdom. I don't know if that makes sense. Then also you believe information is always a click away. So is the competition. Then you think education is good. You find integrity admirable, and you believe parents are role models. Now, I'll believe that because I think most of you are, like I said, you're raised by the baby boomers. And what's very key about the way you're raised up is you are nurtured and really pampered, which also probably has kind of spoiled you and brought a challenge when it comes to the workplace. So now that we know what your characteristics are, your strengths are, what are your weaknesses? All right. One thing is millennials have a very poor work ethic. All right. And by that, what I mean is when it comes to work, you'll probably miss work several times as compared to the other generations. All right. A survey was done, and about 47 and 48. So because of this, you have been labeled lazy. But again, it's not really label, because what millennials think about, or rather what we live in, working smart. And that's why, and that probably is that the reason is because you're techno-savvy and believe in using computers and such gadgets to make work easier. So it has become, on one side, depending on the generation that you work with, they'll consider you lazy because you think of smarter ways of doing work, which also brings a plus side in many organizations. You also devalue face-to-face communication. I'm sure you've seen yourselves whenever you go out, even hanging out, what happens most of the time, you guys are always on your phones. You're always looking on your phones, on whatever social platform communicating. You don't really value face-to-face, which other generations find very, 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 very key. However, despite all this, there's some plus side to this in the sense that rather than wasting time, because I know other generations value these face-to-face conversations, but for you, you'll think you'd rather have an email sent to you or a text rather than moving from one place to another, which again, of course, saves a lot of time. And of course, if you look at it, avoids unnecessary time wastage. The third area that people think you're weak is career impatience. Millennials really would want to grow very fast whenever they join an organization. One other thing they've been labeled as is as job hoppers. You do not have the patience to sit down in one place and grow. In fact, as a study showed that the average time that a millennial will stay in an organization, if they do not grow in terms of career, is about 2 years. All right? So you'll find yourself, even in the same field, moving from one company to another with the anticipation that you'll grow in your career. So they kind of think that once you go into an organization, you need to move very fast and become probably a manager, which in most cases will not apply because the people leading you are Generation X. And Generation X, on the other hand, feel like they took some time before they grew into their position. So they don't feel like you have what it takes to get to those positions. Like I said, you frequently job hop, and that job hopping is just because you want to grow in your various fields. Another thing that is considered a weakness by the other generations about the millennials is you're dependent on feedback. And one thing is you like constant feedback from your superiors. In fact, a study was shown that 50% more often than other employees want feedback are millennials. So it's not surprising that that if you don't get this feedback, you get really frustrated. And through frustration, now that's where conflict begins at the workplace. So you like to be in an organization where your manager will constantly give you feedback on your performance, on what you need to do, or where you're needed. If that doesn't happen, what happens is frustration checks in and you just lose interest in the organization. And then another thing is millennials are fixated on flexibility. And by flexibility, what do I mean? That you should not be really structured and things done in a particular way. For the millennials, they believe that if you can find a better and easier way of doing something, then by no means, go ahead and do it that way. They really hate things being very rigid. And unfortunately, the bosses you're going to meet in the workplaces are exes who believe in structure and rigid and a particular way of doing things. And this is something that millennials are not very good at. And a good example is right now that we're in COVID period where things have really changed. People have been forced to adapt to the change. And the people who are really suffering are the other generations, and that's the Generation X, the baby boomers, and the likes of that. And for the millennials and the Generation Z, they're really adjusting very fast and moving through the times because one, like I said, that's techno-savvy. And we all know that during this time, technology has played a very, very key part in trying to move things back to normal. And a good example is like our meeting this evening. Before this, I know you guys used to have your meetings face-to-face. You had to congregate in one place, but now all this has changed. And chances are this is what's going to be normal. And again, if you look at it and think about it, people had office space. The companies have realized, and a good example is Google. Google have decided that people are not going to go back to the office until 2023. So going forward, are we going to be able to adjust to that, to work at home on our computers? So according to our generation, this is a weakness, but going now with the times, this is one of the great strengths of the millennials. Another weakness is lack of experience that I mentioned before, but with lack of experience, you bring one, flexibility, two, a diversity, and by diversity, I mean bringing ways of doing things in a different way. Because we've always believed that experience counts for so much as a generation. But however, the millennials have come to show that this is very, very different. But again, you have to be very stubborn and really forceful to show that your way actually supersedes experience. Last but not least is you act entitled. And this, unfortunately, is because of how you were brought up by your parents. Unfortunately, you are given everything, anything you wanted, you are given. In fact, another title you're given is you're the microwave generation, because anything you ask for has always been given to you. So you expect the same when you go into the workplace. So we said all that, saying this all in, with all these weaknesses. Again, like I was sharing, millennials have a lot of strength. A lot of research has been done concerning the millennials. And one thing is, in the next, by 2025, 70% of the workforce will be millennials. So most organizations have been asked to embrace and try to accommodate millennials. And some of the reasons why they've been asked to embrace millennials because there are strengths that they bring on board. And one is that they work well with friends and on teams. Millennials are very collaborative and are very flexible and will work with people who see things their way. So they're very good, especially when it comes to areas where you have to work in teams. Like I said, you're very collaborative, resourceful, and innovative thinkers. I'd like to take you back when I was sharing to you some leaders in the workplace, and I mentioned Njeri Roinge. I'd like to tell you her story. Njeri Roinge was in Nyeri, not a very well-off family, was a saloonist. She was a saloonist earning about 3,000 and 4,000 shillings. Now, one thing is, while Njeri was working as a saloonist, earning 3,000, 4,000, she had a side hustle, and her side hustle was selling yogurt. And she used to sell her yogurt to students in International School of Kenya, ISK, and Loreto Msongari to earn extra cash. So she raised quite a bit of funds. And when she turned 23, she created Wananchi Online. And for those who know it, for those who do not know it, it's an internet service provider. And she went about she grew slowly. However, at some point she struggled with finances, but she managed to, with her innovative thinking, she managed to get funding of about $60,000. And Wananchi became one of the biggest ISP providers in the country. Now, while she was at it, she felt that the challenge was over. So what did she want to do? She decided to get a different challenge and began Insight, another company as well. So again, this just demonstrates what millennials can do. Very innovative, very resourceful. All right, and like I said, this is one of your greatest strengths and some of the things that you need to exploit while you get into the workplace. Another thing is you love challenges. You love challenges, and again, I think it's because of the way you're wired and the way you think, and I think also because of being techno-savvy, you are exposed to so much, and that's why challenges come as a thrill to you. Like someone said here, I remember when I asked if I give you a wish, they would like to change the world and make it a better place. Millennials seek to make a difference, not only in the world, but also in the workplace, wherever they're working. They want to feel like they're making a difference. And remember I said, they really love feedback. So, and that's why they want to make a difference. And whenever they make a difference, they want to be praised and be told, you have done this and we applaud you. Again, another strength is you want to produce something that is worthwhile, all right? Which again is very closely related to making a difference. And again, I'll go back to Njeri. He started with wananchi, and then again went to Insight. And then you always desire to be a hero. You always want to be the hero of the story wherever you are. Again, this is again a driving force and a competitive nature of the millennials. And then obviously because of technology, which changes every other day, you're comfortable with speed and change. So that comes very natural to you. Again, another strength you have is you thrive on flexibility and space to explore. Again, like I said, a good example is during this COVID, if there's a people who have really mastered it and adjusted to these times are millennials. So you can easily change with the times and the situation that is around you. You partner well with mentors, although again, it can be a bit dicey here and there because again, you can also be very, very stubborn. You value guidance. Remember I said, they think parents as, one of the beliefs millennials have is parents are good role models. And then last but not least, you expect respect. Very, very, very high with you. So if you don't get respect given to you by your managers, your superiors, you'll easily walk away. It's very easy for you to walk away from a job. Now, that said and done, I'd like to make it now more practical. If I'd asked you again, I'd ask you a question. If there's something you would do if you believed in your heart you won't fail, what would that be? I'd like some answers.
Can I go?
Sorry?
That would be to teach and inspire.
Teach and inspire.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else? Someone else, please share like 2, 3. If there's something you would do if you believe you would not fail, what would it be?
Can I go?
Yes, yes, Dennis, karibu.
Yeah, I think what I can do is to have a long-term investment.
Okay, a long-term investment. Someone else?
I would
Davis?
buy.
Yes, Aileen?
I would buy international stocks.
You do buy international stocks?
International stock, yeah, in companies.
Okay. Anyone else? Davis?
I think for me is I'll probably come up with a mentorship program for the generation that's coming up.
Okay. Joanne?
Talk about mental health and these topics that are considered obscene in an African home, like grief, death, such like.
Okay, okay, very good. Now that you've shared that, my question would be, my next question, follow-up question to that would be, and to the rest, I'm sure you have something in your mind, what you do if you believe you not fail. What stops you from doing it? Again, this goes to anyone where you mentioned it. Okay, Davis, if you can go on, I can see you admitted yourself. What stops us from doing this?
I think for me, let me go first. For me, I think is not having a clear direction on how to execute my plan, and maybe the fear of the unknown. You really don't know how things will turn up.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Someone else? What
I would
is
say
Dennis? Yes.
I would
I
say
think what
that
I'll do is,
Okay, Dennis, then Eileen. Dennis, just go ahead.
okay, I'll say that again. They say that when you want to invest, you need to have a number of people around like-minded people. So I think what is stopping me is like getting the like-minded people so that you can have big investment for future.
Okay. So you believe you need to have like-minded people for you to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, because I do believe that you cannot succeed when you are alone. You need also to involve others.
Are there people who succeeded on their own? A good example, and I'll keep using that.
I think so. Yeah.
Like Njeri Roinge. She operated on her own, yes. So again, I throw the challenge to you. Do you have to have people around you so that you can do whatever? Because you see, if you could do something, then you should not fail. So what is stopping you? So saying other people, yes. So other people, not having other people that can guide you.
Yeah, like-minded as in people you can share and maybe try to pull the resources together.
Okay, fine. Eileen?
I would say that what's stopping me is, even though I've done my due diligence and completely have an understanding of the market, I still have the fear of failure. Like, what if another recession happens? Do I lose everything? The fear of not knowing what will happen should anything go wrong, because it's like a high risk, high return. So that's my fear.
Okay, good, thank you. Joanne from KU. What is stopping you from doing, that which you'd believe you can do and not fail? Joanne, are you there from KU? Okay, she's a AWOL. Valentine or Christine? Your hand is up. Please.
My thoughts align with those of Davis, and that would be fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, I'm glad, because what stops a majority of us, and it has been shared clearly by at least 3 of you, is fear. Okay? And now I want to let you guys know one thing. We are not born with fear. None of us is born with fear. Right? But unfortunately, parenting stance has unfortunately taught us to be fearful. Right? I know if you guys can think back when you're being brought up, your parents usually used to tell you, do not do this, do not do that. Watch out, navel. Stop it. You know, you'll get hurt, you'll fall down, all that, right? But I like to, rather than instruct us, because I like pulling, referring to the Bible, the greatest manual of life. In the Bible, it says, teach a child in the way they should follow, and when they grow, they will not depart from them. Unfortunately, we are not taught otherwise. So we are taught as we grow up to be fearful. So all your life as you grow up, you're taught to be fearful of certain things, right? Do not cross the road, do not drink, that soup is hot, you'll get burned. Or do not go into that water, you'll drown, you get. Rather than instructing or teaching children or how while they're young. However, much as we all fear have fear, fear is not bad, all right? Depending on how you look, because fear should inform your action and not control it, all right? We have example, fear of high, closed spaces, okay? Fear of creeping animals or insects, okay? Different fears. Even as Kenyans, we have even coined different fears like do fear, yeah? The fear of drinking tea without sugar, or fiatu, the fear of walking without shoes, okay? But like I said, fear is not bad. It should inform your action and not control it, all right? But the fear I really want to talk about today is social fear or social phobia, which many of us suffer from. Unfortunately, this has been brought about because we're in an era of, like I said, your generation is a techno-savvy generation who are connected 24/7, all right? So in some way, this has really, really come to control us. Social phobia, social fear, all right? An example has been shared by some of you. There is the fear of being, of failure, fear of being judged, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of making decisions, right? And I'll give you an example that you may be able to relate to. Most of us are on social media. What happens is that most of the times we post on our social handles, and we always sit there waiting to get a like, someone to like our photo, someone to like our comment. And whenever we don't get that, we kind of get depressed and get it really, really affects us. So what happens is we are more concerned of what people think of us, all right? And that's why we kind of give a very false sense of ourselves on social media. And why do we do that? So we do that so that we can accept it. It's that social phobia where I want what people think about me is very, very important, okay? And what happens is while we do this, we lose our uniqueness, right? So what happens is we become very excessively social, we suffer from excessive social consciousness, all right? And if we are not able to sort this out, then even when we go to the workplace, it becomes a challenge. Because what happens, we cannot be uniquely ourselves. We try to be someone that we are not. And what happens is when this happens, we cannot enjoy a life as we are supposed to be. One thing we need to know is that every one of us was uniquely made by God. And we need to accept who we are and how we are. And not be turned into what others think about us. We should be comfortable within our skin. And because of that, I'll give you an example. If I ask you, and I remember when, usually when someone asks you, please introduce yourself, many of us really, really struggle about this. Even at the beginning, when Davis asks people, please introduce yourself, and this is going to be the format. What's your name, your club, your, what is it called? What you do, and your first crush. And no one volunteered to speak. Why? Social phobia. You're thinking, if I speak, what will people think about me? Okay? So we need to try and counter this social phobia because it's really, really, really affecting us as individuals and who we are. Someone mentioned about mental wellness. Very, very many people have been affected by social bullying. You've seen it before. You remember the lady who was dancing on, there was a video that was going around. She was dancing to one of Major's songs. And she was really, really she was really bullied on social media. But now, for her, she was very strong mentally, and she managed to come out strong out of it. And out of it, she's gotten so many opportunities. I ask you, how many of you would have responded the same way and have come out of it stronger and got a thing or something out of it? Because out of that, she got an opportunity which is making monetary benefits out of it. Okay? So I want us to be very comfortable, one, with ourselves. Because if I ask, like, for example, Davis, Davis, tell me about yourself. Davis will probably tell me, my name is Davis. I belong to Rotaract Club of Gam and all that. But you see, that is not who you are. All right? It's very easy. The way Davis introduced me is who I am. But it's very weird that I find it very difficult to introduce myself that way, because what goes in our mind is usually that we are bragging or boasting about ourselves. We find it very difficult to say really, really who we are. And what happens is we end up being turned to what other people think we are. So in short, to sum up all this, how can you control your fears, especially like we discussed social phobia? One, name your fear. A few of you have said fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, and so forth and so on. All right? Fear of failure, fear of the unknown. All right? So write it down. Get to know what is this that you're fearful about. And once you get to know what it is, then it's very easy it's very easy to address it and sort it out. Two, surround yourself with people who will push you to overcome that fear. Okay? There are people who will always tell you, like, it's very weird. Like before I did this, when I was in college, I was called to do Bachelor of Education. And when I was called to do that, I knew I had to be a teacher. And to me, I could not see myself standing in front of people teaching. I could not. So what happened is it took me about 2 to 3 months to change my course. And I eventually ended up doing a Bachelor of Arts degree. But eventually, as I finished, got into the job market, and where I'm employed right now, there's this lady, she's called Edith Kinyanjui. And she saw something in me and told me, by the way, I'd like you to come and train some people for me. And I told her, no, I can't do it. I can't train. Me stand in front of people, I can't do that. She said, no. You have what it takes. And she said, no, there's no one else. And the only person I can depend on is you to do this. And actually, I managed to do the training. And that's where my training career began. And as we speak, like I said, I've trained so many people in the thousands. I've trained locally, I've trained internationally, in West Africa, in the Far East. And I've also ended up creating a company, Synergistic Value Limited, that deals with training. But this was because I was surrounded by people who pushed me. And what happens at times, we're unable to see our potential, or rather, at times, other people can see what we have, what potential we have in ourselves, other than ourselves. Third is practice and role play. I know at times it can be difficult, and I encourage people. I remember there were times when I had to, just to get confidence, to practice in front of a mirror. Or at times, what I'll do is I'd record myself. I don't know if anyone has recorded themselves and heard their voice. It can be very, very scary. When you hear your voice for the first time, you wonder, what, is that me? No. But again, the more you practice, the more you do this role play, and like in my case, keep on doing such trainings, what happens? You gather courage, and what happens? You eliminate that fear. The fourth thing is get or seek help. And by this, you can look for coaches, you can look for mentors. And remember, one of the strengths that millennials have is they can work very closely with mentors and coaches. So that's one of the strengths that comes naturally to you. For some of us, it may be very difficult to go to someone else and so that they can tell you what you need to do. For you, it's something that is in you. So it's something you need to exploit and try to follow. Last but not least, follow other people's footsteps. Where I am right now, there's someone who has been there before. All right. So I need to align myself to people who have walked this journey. For me, in my case, is this journey of training. What I did is I hung around people who were training. I watched them, I saw what they did. And then they would give me tips when they'll give me an opportunity to train. When they train, they'll give me feedback. And slowly, I became what I am right now. Again, we only see, and that is in my field of training, but the other things you can do, even in business, there's nothing wrong in copying. We know that China was built in copying. They have copied so many things and become very good at it, but look how successful they've become. So do not feel like if you're following someone else's footsteps or doing something what someone else has done, you're copying and you're imitating them. There's nothing wrong with it. Remember, we are all unique. The way I train and the way one of you will be able to train will be totally different. The way of delivery, the way you speak, your intonation, your actions will be totally different. We could have the same message, but deliver it different. So please do not feel that if you copy someone else, that it's wrong. Follow other footsteps. So to summarize, basically, how to overcome the fears that you have. 1, name your fear. 2, surround yourself with people who will push you to overcome these fears. 3, practice or role play. 4, get or seek help, and that is from coaches or mentors. And 5, follow other people's footsteps, people who have been there ahead of you. Because, my brothers and sisters, there is nothing new under this sun. Okay? So, I'd like to part with a saying, or rather a quote given by a gentleman called John Wooden. He says, be concerned with your character rather than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. And with that, I've come to the end of my presentation or my talk. If you have any questions, I could now take them at this point.
Thank you very much, Santo, for that wonderful presentation. My question would be in terms of if you have some characteristics of Generation Z, I'd love to know a few.
Generation Z?
Yes.
Yes.
Any a few characteristics of them.
Yes, you'd find them. You could find them they could cross over. Remember, like now the oldest Generation Z right now is 23, and chances are, and for generation your millennials, they run from 24 right now to about 39. So chances are you could be having friends if you're, let's say, assuming you're 24, you could probably have friends who are 23. Okay, or if it's a lady, she could probably be dating a millennial. Or if you're a guy who's a millennial, you could be dating a girl who's a Generation Z. So what happens is now you get influence. Remember, there's also something called influence. You can influence each other and pick some of these characters. For example, Generation X, which is my generation, we kind of have a taste of both. We have a little bit of taste of millennials. Like technology, quite a number of us, especially those born maybe about 75 or thereabout, are able to adapt to technology, or are able to adapt to technology because we could embrace it. All right, which is some of the strengths of that you have. We're able to teams very well as generations. And where the generations part, you could find the people who are close to those generations could depict characteristics of both generations. So that is possible, Caleb. Anyone else? Any questions? I know Eileen is pressed for time.
I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead, Eileen.
What would you advise somebody who is, I don't know how to put it, the imposter syndrome? For example, maybe you are moving into a new field where you know what you are doing, you do well what you're doing, but you still don't identify as, for example, let's say you've changed fields from, let's say you are a lawyer and now you're in tech. How do you overcome the imposter syndrome? Because every time you want to introduce yourself as a tech person, but you still identify yourself as a lawyer. I don't know if you understand my question.
Yes, I understand what you do. I said about millennials. What happens is there are things that they seek for in a job, and if they don't get it, by the way, and again, they are very diverse, and that's why I don't blame you. You can come from law to like you're saying, to tech. I'll give an example. We had a colleague who we were working with. He was a pilot. Then at some point, actually, first of all, he was a doctor. He's a doctor, actually. He's a doctor. So he didn't want he didn't want to pursue that. He got tired, then became a pilot, and ended up being what? Became a DJ. At the end of the day, Eileen, is what you're comfortable with. You need to be comfortable. And you have no, as long as you're comfortable, that's what's very important. And the reason why probably you're having a challenge is, again, social phobia, sorry. Fear of being judged, all right? As long as you're comfortable in your skin, why you move from law to becoming, to get into tech, and you have what it takes to do that tech job, then that should be okay. What's important, is you. Yeah. I hope I answered that. And again, if you struggle quite a bit, what you probably I'd encourage you to do is maybe get someone to maybe now mentor. Because again, at times you may need a mentor or coach, again, for that adjustment, all right? Because maybe you are used to doing things as a lawyer, but are not applicable when it comes to tech. So chances are you probably need a coach, not even a mentor, coach, so that they can help you maybe in that transition and now feel assimilated, or make you feel fitted into that space. But most of the time, what brings us back is fear of being judged, social phobia. Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, Davis.
Yes, I have a question. First of all, thank you, Tim Santos, for the amazing talk. My question is, now that you've highlighted some of the challenges that we millennials face, how, from your experience, how willing or how fast do millennials adapt once they realize their challenges? How fast and how quick do they adapt to face their challenges that they're facing?
Now, this one, it kind of varies, but a majority, remember I said within 2 years, if they do not get what, let's say they don't get the career, because now this will come down to you as a person. If you don't grow in the job, if you don't get feedback, if where you work, they're not transparent and open in terms of communication, then chances are you leave. Millennials are not scared of moving on. And that's why you see they can job hop. One, they believe in their abilities. That is one. And they believe they'll still, and you see, because remember I said one of the strengths is they're entrepreneurial. And they believe, yes, so some of them have started a lot of startups. About 60% of startups were started by millennials. So they're very confident in their skills and their knowledge. Okay. So chances are, if they're unable to, things are unable to work their way in those 2 years, they'll go, they'll leave, they'll job hop. Okay. But again, if we also need to know if you're in a field that is in terms of job opportunities is quite slim, then I would advise again you get a mentor, because again you may decide to leave and not get another opportunity, and what happens? You get frustrated, and what happens? Get into depression, and we know where that heads. So again, just answering your question, if you feel like you're in a place that you're not adjusting, or in a place where you're not adjusting, there are two things. If you know chances are if you're going to get opportunity somewhere else, I know you'll just jump ship. But two, if you're not sure, my advice would get a mentor or someone to talk to, so they can give you direction. Because remember I said that was also one of the weaknesses of millennials, job hopping. Yeah.
Thank you. Well answered.
There's a question here from George. How can we handle toxic workplace? Now, all workplaces you'll go to, there'll be some level of toxicity. All right. And the only way to adjust to it is, do you adjust to it or do you try to resolve it? And now what is happening is, like I said, a lot of research has been done on millennials, because what's happening, the millennials are taking over most of the workplaces. So what will happen is majority of the people you'll find there will be millennials. And the few, because remember, managers and the heads usually form a very small percentage of the workforce. So majority are millennials. So what happens is, now there are two ways of handling it. One is they cause a lot of friction and inciting. But what can happen is dialogue works. Try and use dialogue, all right? Dialogue actually helps. Try and address it. Where I work, I know why we had to introduce this millennials at the workplace, this topic, because there's a lot of collision between it go to a point where now you're the majority, and if you don't address it, one, okay, thank you, Lewis. So what's happening is that if they didn't address it, what happens is that the company will be in disarray, all right? So at some point, the issue has to be sorted out. And it has to be either, and like I said, millennials are not scared. What they want is open communication where you can share what you feel, and the other person can also be open and share what they feel, when I talked about feedback. So in terms of toxicity in the workplace, it's just a matter of going up to your boss and raising the issue. If you concern someone else, bring them there and raise the issue openly. And that's one thing that I don't know why, again, fear. Because when someone does something wrong is bringing a conflict in the workplace, why don't we raise the issue with the bosses? We always fear. But at the end of the day, you see you're suffering. Someone is not coming to work, or someone is coming late, drunk, and all that. What happens? You don't want to take the next step or do something. Why? Because you are fearful. So again, overcoming fear. Overcome that fear and just do it. Okay. I hope I've answered you, George. And then Lewis, is it normal to have the social phobia? It's normal. And the reason being is that's how society has nurtured us. All right. We don't need to go far. Look at social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you see most of the, let's not even go far. Look at most of the profile pictures. Either they're not you, or it's a picture that has one that you feel is your best. All right. And that's the reason being is because we are scared of what people will think about us, or what people will say about us. All right. So it's something that it's unavoidable. We all have it. But the thing is, like I mentioned, name your fear. The moment you name your fear and acknowledge that it's something you're suffering from, then that's the first step to getting sorted it out. Like the fear of, like we talked about, fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, all those things. Once you know that you have that fear, you address it. Remember, again, you can also work with someone, a coach, or work with people who will now push you and remind you, get you out of that fear, right? And I like saying this. There's one thing I like sharing whenever I'm talking to such a crowd is, make sure that you work with people that will raise you, right? And the moment you feel like you have reached the top in that group, then it's time for you to change your friends, because they're not going to elevate you further. What will happen is you'll remain at that level, and you need to grow. And for you to grow, you need to hang around people who will challenge you, who are better than you, so that you may aspire and get to their level. And the moment you get to their level, leave, move on, go to the next level, start searching for other friends. Okay. So Lewis, I hope you have answered your question. Social phobia is there, and all of us suffer from it at some degree. But the moment you realize that you have it, then it's the first step to resolving it. Any other question?
Question.
Yes, Christine.
So I really just want to know how the training field has been for you as a person, from a personal experience, and what should you tell someone who's new into the field? So my question comes from a point where I'm getting into training healthcare professionals on digital solutions to make their work effective. And it's a really new field for me. To be honest, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm really new to it. So I just really want to learn from someone else's personal experience.
So basically, like I said, all you need, that's very good, because one thing I've discovered, and I wish I knew earlier, and probably shared with you, is doing something that you're passionate about, something that you'll not be forced to wake up in the morning, or it comes second nature to you. That's the most fulfilling thing to ever do. And chances are, most of the time, your passion is your purpose, right? So in your case, now that you enjoy doing it, what I'd advise is to get someone who will mentor you, work with you, and probably that would be a trainer. Probably it would be good maybe in your field. That would be much better. But however, if you don't get anyone in your field, then get someone who's just a trainer and who could just give you the general view of how it is and what it all entails. All right. And then again, also another thing is also trying to do, especially during this COVID period, what's very important is there are a lot of courses that are being offered online. What you need to do is always try and grow yourself, because the more knowledgeable you are, the more confident you become. because you have a wealth of knowledge that you can share. So whatever you face, it becomes very, very, very easy. And remember, when you have knowledge, what happens next is you have confidence. So that probably in a few words, that's what I'll do. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, thank you.
What length of time would you say is enough to wait till you grow in the workplace? Since you mentioned the average for male is 2 years. Eileen, this really varies from company to company, organization to organization. However, if you stand out and are exceptional, then chances are that you'll grow fast, all right? But remember, we all are different, and you could go into a company where it's saturated with probably what you're doing. There are very many people ahead of you. But what happens is, for millennials, they don't have that patience of waiting more than 2 years. They think that in 2 years, they have done enough and need to be recognized, okay? Which at times is not the case. At times, you have to really, really be patient and sit, all right? Do your thing. And then what happens is, when the time is right, the opportunity will present itself, all right? So as a millennial, like I said, you need to ask yourself two things. One, because the moment you keep job hopping, chances are that you will not grow fast, because what will be shown on your CV is that you stay in a place and then you move on. So what happens is an organization or company cannot depend on you for the long haul, because what happens is each company and organization has short-term and long-term goals. So chances are, if you don't look like you'll fit in their long-term goals based on your CV from hopping from one job to another, chances are you'll not grow in that company. So they'll keep you where probably there was an opening in that specific job role, and they'll keep you there. And what happens, you'll end up getting frustrated. So what I'll encourage you is learn the art of patience. Unless it's outrightly you're being bypassed by people who have come there and probably you're still better than them, or you're the one who is training them and preparing them, and they're bypassing you and getting those management roles. If that happens, then you need to leave, because what happens is you'll end up getting frustrated, and it ends up you becoming bitter and turning you to someone who you're not. Remember, I said what's important is always do something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy. Okay, yeah. Any other question? Okay, I think we can call it a wrap. There's no more questions. Probably I'll just want to add just one thing. It's a advice, all right? It's called the 10-10-10 rule. Like I got it from a friend of mine. And I'll give the most basic and a scenario that you can relate to. A girl and a boy. Right now, you decide you're dating, then decide you want to, your guy says he wants to sleep with you. So as a lady, please ask yourself, in the 10 seconds, the next 10 seconds, how will I feel? You'll probably feel very good. In the next 10 minutes, what will you be feeling? Asking yourself, what have I done? In the next 10 hours, you'll be regretting, what did I do? In the next 10 days, you'll start thinking, wow, was it worth it? And then in the next 10 weeks, you miss your period. What happens? In the next 10 months, you have a 1-month-old baby. In the next 10 years, you have a 10-year-old child. Now, I like to use that scenario whenever you're doing anything. So if you're at a job place, if I do this in the next 10 seconds, what will happen? In the next 10 minutes, or probably the next 10 seconds, you're using your company time to do something that you're not supposed to do for the next 10 seconds or the next 10 minutes. At that time, you'll be really enjoying it. Then you get busted. So in the next 10 days, you're told you're given a show cause. In the next 10 weeks, you don't have a job. In the next 10 months, you're tamacking, thinking of what am I going to do? Really frustrated. In the next 10 years, because of that 10 seconds. So always make sure before you make a life-changing decision, try and use that 10 rule, and it will see how it will work for you. Okay. Lewis is asking for the quote I shared by John Wooden. The quote is basically, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the very informative session. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Christine to give a vote of thanks. Christine.
Thank you. Thank you, Sancho, for taking your time off your schedule to just talk to us and encourage us and share with us your experiences and knowledge. So this is very personal for me, especially coming from a week where I've been thinking to myself about my colleagues or my peers who have made strides in their careers. And I was thinking, I'm not any different from them. I have the capabilities, I have everything that it takes to get where I want to be. So this is very encouraging for me and very interesting for me. We hope to also share the insights or the learnings with our peers backwards and to make the world a better place. So thank you for taking your time to talk to us.
Thank you for your kind words, Christine.